So, I just wanted to talk to you today about culture of fear. Obviously, we live in a culture of fear. Everything around us is promoting fear in some way, on the telly, in the media, in social media. And I'm just sitting here, just like contemplating posting, sitting with that fear in my solar plexus, because it's like, this isn't me. This isn't comfortable for me posting on social media. I'd rather be doing anything else but post. And I wonder to myself, you know, like how many people feel like that put on a brave face, do their posts, do their video, put themselves out there, but nobody actually talks about the fear around, like putting yourself out there on Facebook, on Instagram, or in a video. And it's like, how many takes do people do before they like erase it and then redo it because they want a certain image to go out of who they are? But it's never, who we are as people, is it? It's like a snapshot of somebody and who they are and their best part of themselves that they want to like put out into the world. And sometimes you can go on and on and on taking, video after video and thinking that's not right, that's not right. And we get into this idea that actually we've got to be a certain type of person in order to be accepted in the world, and it's got to be on social media. And for me, I'm posting today because I've got a book and I've written a book, and if I don't post about it, then people aren't going to know that it's out there. And to me, obviously I'm the author, but to me it's got important messages that need to go out into the world about kind of overcoming that fear. And there's books out there, about overcoming fear. I'm a health coach, and I spend a lot of my days talking to people about how to overcome anxiety and stress management and talking therapies and lots of different things, interventions to use for overcoming fear. But what we rarely talk about is where that fear sits in the body, and also ways energetically to shift it. More and more people are starting to talk about those things, but still in Western society, it's quite a taboo subject. So my book is it's called Solar Plexus Nation, and it's about how we hold fear in our solar plexus, which is the space around underneath our rib cage, but also as empaths, so people that are highly sensitive and are able to feel other people's pain and suffering, and especially when you're working in frontline roles such as myself in healthcare roles, that you're absorbing that distress from the other human beings that you're interacting with, those patients, participants, clients, people in recovery, human beings, but also the human beings that you're interacting with as colleagues and other people, professionals that you come into contact. We're literally engaging energetically with people every day, and also the environment which we work in. So the internet, the sound waves that we're, subjected to, there's a lot of energy going on in so many ways. And even our thoughts are energy. So when I started to kind of write my book, it was really just a kind of therapeutic process for me to kind of get my head around what had happened to me, because I was in the pandemic, I was working in GP practice, and I was getting progressively iller and iller, even though that's not a word, is it? Iller. But I was becoming really kind of bogged down with the stresses of my own life and everybody else's lives and the stress that they were feeling. And I think that was like a big thing during the pandemic. But I started to like explore it a bit more and find out that actually we are energetic beings, and this as an empath was really playing a part in that, and it was activating my solar plexus. So as I started to kind of unravel things, and I was having lots of different symptoms, I was actually hallucinating at night time when I was going to sleep and when I was waking up. But then I started to have all kinds of mystical experiences that started to infiltrate my reality, which kind of made me feel like I was losing sight of what was reality and what was illusion. And before I knew it, I realized that because of the practices that I was doing, meditation, mindfulness, Reiki, self-inquiry, lots of different things were starting to get me to really unpick who I was as a human being and also ground myself in the present moment. But what that was also doing was my body was having an energy upgrade. And so that pain and suffering was actually what turned out to be a gateway onto a spiritual path and a spiritual awakening. So that's what my book is about. And I feel really passionate about getting these messages out there because I meet so many people that have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, lots of different symptoms that they're experiencing, and they go to the doctors multiple times. They don't get answers. They want diagnoses. They don't get those. They're offered medication, and then they get side effects from the medication. And so it's like there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck, not getting the answers that they want from the medical community. And I believe there is a path that runs alongside that medical model of healthcare that is the holistic route. And often people feel like they've got to pay separately for that. And that's a whole other area that maybe the more privileged people have access to. And what I'd like to say is that's something that's available to all of us, that actually we can find out through reading books, through the internet, through YouTube, through so many different avenues nowadays, free avenues as well, low cost free avenues that help us actually to heal ourselves. And the main message of my story and of my book is that we have more control over our ability to heal ourselves than we might think we have, and also what the medical community might like us to think that we have. We actually have more power to heal, to cure, but to also recover and to transition through that pain and suffering. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's a long process. And when you're in the habit of being in a stressed out body and in pain and suffering, it's not suddenly something that you're going to just think positively. Just think positively, that toxic positivity, it's recognizing that that's not it. It's a transition of shifting your mindset, shifting how you're looking at your thoughts, not kind of taking each thought as if it is a fact, but actually seeing that it's something that's coming from the mind, the monkey mind is what they call it. And that recognizing that self-talk, which is all obviously things that you go into therapy for and you get from therapy, but that's like the starting point of that energy upgrade. There's so many other things that we can do to release that pain and suffering, in terms of like focusing in on that pain, seeing the pain, and kind of not resisting the pain. So my book is about different routes to overcoming pain and suffering, and going from solar plexus living, which is what we do in the West. We overuse our solar plexus. We live in fear, we live in stress, we live in spending our time comparing ourselves to each other on social media. So we need to shift from this focus on the solar plexus, which is why we end up with digestive issues, ulcers, so many different problems with our gut, because we're, IBS, because we're living in our solar plexus and we're just overloading it with stress and fear and blocking it up basically with loads of different energies. So what we need to do is to clear that out, and we need to start thinking in more like focusing more in terms of our third eye and using that in order to live our lives, which is being more intuitive, being more creative, going with the flow, letting go of things a bit more, not taking ourselves so seriously, having more pleasurable activities to do, what they call some luxury treats. Doesn't mean spending a fortune, but going for a Costa coffee or any other kind of coffee, Starbucks, whatever. but with a friend. It's just about self-care and doing things slightly differently and not getting bogged down with the problems, bogged down with the negativity, and focusing in on that and spending your time thinking and talking about that with your mates and with your colleagues, focusing in on the fear, focusing in on the news, what's going wrong, this war, that war, who's dying. It's like it's shifting that attention away from that, because all that's doing is bringing you down, bringing your vibe down, making you feel like rubbish. And it's like, why do we keep doing this? Like, literally, we're living in this culture of fear, and we're allowing ourselves to let it dominate our minds, our bodies, and our energetic frequency. So that's what my book is about, Solar Plexus Nation. I've done it. I've got my first video out where I haven't just read from the book or had a script or something. I've just gone from the heart and from my third eye. And I'll post this tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And but yeah, if you want to find out more about Solar Plexus Nation, all my details are on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So just follow me on there. Be good to see you. And any feedback you want to give me about the book would be fantastic. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Night, night.